I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on GBM, we're diving into a supernatural thriller packed with suspense, danger, and dark mystery. We are talking to a terrific writer. His name is Lyndon W. Joslin, and he brings readers into the fast-moving world of an amazing book. It is called Mitzi at Midnight. It's a story of a Houston radio traffic reporter who was pulled into a terrifying battle involving spontaneous human combustion, vampires, and an ancient deadly force. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him on TV today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below this interview. Lyndon, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Good to be here.
Great to have you on the show, sir. You're a broadcaster, traffic reporter, anchor, working in the Houston area. So you drew upon a little bit of your own real life experience here, right?
Yes. The main character of this book, Mitzi, has the same job I had in the late '80s, which was a radio traffic reporter in Houston. We would actually drive up and down the freeways with a two-way radio and report on traffic conditions. Now, this has to be a period piece because that job doesn't exist anymore. There are cameras everywhere up and down the freeways, so the law enforcement and other authorities can monitor freeway situations from a central location without having to send people out into traffic. But the book started out as a screenplay that I wrote at the time, back around 1988 or so. And it had agency representation for a couple of years, but never got off the ground. And it just kind of sat in a drawer for a long time. And then I got the idea a few years ago to just go ahead and novelize it. And of course, by then it was a bit of a period piece. And since it takes place in late 1987, there's not a cell phone in it, for example.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think we need period pieces only going forward because the 2000s and up are boring. I mean, pagers, two-way radios, typewriters, all of that stuff is so much cooler, so much more interesting, and so much more visually appealing than this age where everything is done here. So I'm all on board with this book and the period piece. I think it would be an amazing movie. I know you said had an agency representation for a while, but maybe it's
Yeah,
time to
it
shape
started
it.
out as a movie, as a matter of fact, but now it's a book.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, Netflix or Prime Video or Hulu, here's a script that's ready to go and a book that's ready to be transformed if you want a little bit more, because obviously there's more in the book than there is in the script. Okay, so Lyndon, let me ask you this. All your years as a newsman covering the traffic and so forth, did you come across any vampires? Any
No,
spontaneous combustion?
not a single one. As a matter of fact, the whole the very loosely used phrase "based on true events." There are a number of rather spectacular accidents that are described in the book. Just
Mm.
about every single one of them actually happened, and most of them I was there to cover, which is why I'm able to cover them in detail. Well, there's one accident that's in the book. It's a flaming fatal accident that describes one that I was sitting on the scene of one time, and I just had that writer's question, what if?
Hmm.
And said, okay, well, what if the firefighters tap out the fire and they find something really unexpected in this car? Like what? Oh, $3 million in a duffel bag. I said, nah, that sounds like a Coen Brothers mystery. Or, same thing if they found a bunch of cocaine or something. How about something really outre, something really strange? I said, spontaneous human combustion. I said, now we're talking. Let's do something with that. And I started developing it from there. Now, it's been so long since I wrote the story that I have no idea at this late date how vampires got involved in it. But anybody who knows me will tell you that vampires are never far from top of mind. I
Yep.
mean, my previous book, a nonfiction book, is called Count Dracula Goes to the Movies, and it's
Right.
about film adaptations of the novel Dracula and a bunch of its sequels. So, yeah, when it comes to vampires, I'm a bit of an enthusiast, so it's not at all surprising that they should turn up in this story.
Right. It's amazing when you pick up something that you wrote years earlier and you look at it and it feels like somebody else wrote it. You hardly remember what's in there. You don't know where this thought came from, that thought came from, this character came from. It's kind of a cool self-discovery, right?
Yeah, it can be. I've been keeping daily journal for nearly 33 years now, and I look back on what I was thinking many years ago and think, I'm glad I wrote that down because I don't remember this at all, or I don't remember it that way.
Yeah.
But having written it down with the impression was fresh. That's a different
W-
matter.
Tell
But
me a little bit about your writing career. You mentioned another book. How many books have you written? Tell us a little bit
this
about that.
this is the second one, and when I say this, I mean this. Mitzi at Midnight.
It's a great looking book.
Mhm. And the other one, Count Dracula Goes to the Movies, it's still available on Amazon. It's reached a third edition, and it really
Wow.
could use a fourth at this point because there have been several other movies that have come out in the last few years. Another remake of Nosferatu, Luc Besson's version of Dracula, which is still in theaters. So I wouldn't mind doing a fourth edition. I'll be looking into that possibility.
Yeah.
But this is my first foray into fiction,
Mhm.
and I don't know, maybe it's something I should have tried sooner. But
Yeah.
we as uh, for a living right now, I work for an internet a national media company, iHeartMedia. You may not have heard of them. I work for a subsidiary of theirs called 24/7 News, and
Mhm.
I'm basically a news writer for them. I work at home overnight, all of which suits me. I fill up the gas tank about once a month. It's a nice commute. But
Amazing.
in any
Amazing. Well,
case, with Mitzi though, a couple of things that there was a particular snippet I had in mind from a book I read many years ago by a fellow named Richard M. Weaver, a book called Ideas Have Consequences. It was written in 1948. It was a very prescient book. It reads like 2018.
mhm.
Um, and I had sort of this idea in mind when I was writing the book. I thought about including it as a quote, like at the beginning of the book, but I see a lot of authors do that, and some of them overdo it, and it strikes me as a tad pretentious after a while. But this is something that I had in mind thematically when I was writing Mitzi at Midnight. This quote is that there are abysses of meaning beneath his daily routine the common man occasionally suspects. To have him realize them in some apocalyptic revelation might well threaten the foundations of materialist civilization,
Very
which,
cool.
to put it another way, there are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamed of in your philosophy.
Yeah.
So there are very unusual things going on right behind the facade of the ordinary world, and that's something that Mitzi discovers.
Very
And
cool.
another thematic thing I wanted to touch on was the continuity of the past and the present. I mean, at one point, Mitzi actually quotes Faulkner when he says, "The past isn't over; it isn't even past.
Yeah.
It's still with us." And particularly in a young city like Houston, the story takes place in 1987. Houston had just had its sesquicentennial the previous year, 150th anniversary. That's two human lifetimes for it to get to be the city that it is.
Yeah.
And things happen fast. And the past is the dust of the past is still settling around us. And I wanted to touch on that as well.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
So
Give the
this
folks,
is
I'm
Mitzi
sorry.
is a part of Houston's story, and Houston is part of Mitzi's story.
Exactly. Exactly. Give the folks at home a little bit of an overview of the story, Mitzi at Midnight.
Well, she is going about her business as a traffic reporter in Houston in the late 80s. And the whole story takes place in December 1987. And she is becoming involved with a fellow that she's seen turning up at a number of these freeway accident sites. A fellow named Buddy, who is a freelance photographer, who takes pictures for mainly for the Harris County Medical Examiner's office of fatal accidents and other incidents of that nature. And they become aware that there's something strange about some of these car fires and some of the building fires that Buddy has been to. It looks like people have just gone up in flames for no reason and in an impossible way. And of course, that's where spontaneous human combustion comes in. They're wondering what's the cause of all that. Well, this other fellow keeps turning up at the site of accidents. He's this eccentric Englishman named Dr. Harcourt, and he's got an answer for him. He says there's something, a living thing, an ancient supernatural menace that's come to town, which is causing this phenomenon,
Hmm.
and which, just as sort of a byproduct, everywhere it goes, vampires spring up. So there's, dozens of those things cropping up all over the place. So things get complicated in a hurry.
Yeah. Absolutely. I can picture, for those of us in the industry, the freelance photographers that Lyndon is talking about, we call them stringers generally. And
Yeah.
they always have a lot to say and a lot to contribute. And you do spend a lot of time talking to the other crews at scenes like that. And those what ifs do hit you, like what's this all about? I remember plane crashes I've been at and car wrecks and all the crispy critters, like we used to say when we'd see them on the sides of the roads, right? That's inside baseball talk here when we're doing some of the news gathering. But it's amazing. You put together an amazing story. It's very real. It's very grounded. I think people are fascinated by the 80s and 90s right now. So I think you've hit upon something really, really well. I know it's been in the vault for a while. I'm glad you've
Mhm.
taken it out, you've dusted it off and given it some new life in the form of a novel. Are you thinking about a sequel or anything like that?
A sequel or a series, I mean, the thought has occurred to me. Certainly, the ending is left wide open
Yeah.
when Mitzi and Dr. Harcourt both say, we need to stick together. There might be more to do here.
Right.
Texas is a very weird and strange and haunted place, so there might be more action adventure in the future for them. I guess it all depends on how well this book does. It seems to be well
Exactly.
received so far.
It could almost be like an updated Night Stalker, Kolchak, if you remember that series.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny. I was watching some reruns of The Night Stalker a couple of years ago. After seeing several episodes, I said, this has a real X Files vibe to it.
Oh,
And that's
yeah.
not at all surprising because the guy who created the X Files was a huge fan of The Night Stalker.
Night Stalker is amazing. I remember being a kid and being absolutely mesmerized by that show. It seemed to come on late at night. It didn't seem to be in prime time, but maybe it was prime time and maybe 10
I
o'clock
don't
Central.
remember.
You don't remember, yeah. But it
Mhm.
was quite Darren McGavin. If you haven't watched it, folks, look it up. It's great. And while you're doing that, pick up Mitzi at Midnight. It's a terrific read as well. And it'll be a bit of time travel for you because you'll go going back to the 1980s, which was a wonderful decade for music, clothes, food, and analog. You know, do you
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
pine for the days of analog, Lyndon, a little bit when we had typewriters where people actually talked to each other, where you actually
Somebody
made a
said
phone
that
call?
somebody was talking about how, there are folks that are vinyl aficionados that say, well, the music sounded better on vinyl. Somebody said, well, that's because it was better music, actually, back in those days. Maybe it was. Maybe I'm just, an
I
old
know.
boomer. But there are mindful of the fact that that was going on. There are references scattered throughout the book of this or that song playing in the background.
Wonderful.
Um, so one of the reviewers at Amazon said something about this book has a soundtrack of 80s songs. I said,
Awesome.
well, I don't overdo it, but yeah, there they are scattered through the background. And one of my beta readers said it took him back to living in Houston in the late 80s. So apparently I captured the time pretty well.
Wonderful. You absolutely have. It was a great era. I was just a young newsman back in the 1980s working at CBS News in New York City. That's where I cut my teeth. And it does bring you back to an analog age, a different time, a simpler time. It's hard to believe it was what, 40 some odd years ago now.
Yeah,
The name of the
time
book,
flies, don't it?
it goes fast, right? The name of the book is Mitzi at Midnight, a gripping supernatural thriller that blends ambition, mystery, and terrifying suspense into one unforgettable ride. Lyndon, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you. The book can be had at Amazon and at barnesandnoble.com.
Amazon and barnesandnobles.com. And
Mhm.
the links are below this interview. Lyndon, thank you to the folks at home. I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on the Global Book Network.